Ciao, everyone. Chin chin. Welcome to Yumi and Sicily. This is Esther.
This is Alfredo sauce here. And I guess I'll have to hold up my glass. Little
Juice,
martini.
lemon juice.
6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. I could have a
6 p.m.
martini.
Welcome to our channel, or welcome back to Yumi and Sicily. It is May, beginning of May, and it's starting to get really beautiful. The flowers are blossoming and lots of the traditional fruits. I started to see some plums already arriving. So, of course, the strawberries are here. But I have to tell you guys, I've been doing this private tour and going to some of our favorite places, and this is really the start of several weeks of festivals and fun events. And Alfred, I went to your ancestral hometown of Trecastani to see what's happening for them preparing for the Feast of San Alfio, Philadelphia, and Cirino, which is celebrated May 9th and 10th. And the lights are going up, preparations are starting. People are busy up and down the streets, setting up stages, setting up places for street food, for vendors. Very exciting. And after 2 years, there's going to be a procession in Trecastani at 1 o'clock. The saints will come out. So it was really great to see that.
On the 10th, right?
And the 9th is the beginning, and the 10th, the saints will come
Fireworks
out.
on the 9th and the right.
Great time. And then, of course, we have Cori Catania, which is a 5K event in downtown Catania. First time in 2 years that they're holding in full force. And the other exciting thing, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit about the Saints, is that we have this tour with the New Jersey Italian American Heritage Commission, and it is all set. We're going to be meeting with the Bishop of Acciareale and also the Mayor of Acciareale. In fact, they published something on the community's website making an announcement of this. So very exciting times here in Sicily. And Alfred has a few stories, but let's go back to the three saints, Alf, because these saints are really special. They weren't Sicilian.
Well, I know that they were. Some people say they're from Spain originally. I kind of think that they was from Spain. Wealthy. Their parents were wealthy Romans eventually, and then they were arrested. The children were arrested for failing to convert back to paganism from Christianity. The three brothers between 19 and 21 years old. The father was killed. The mother was sent into, I don't know where, some type of she had to go away into a cloistered something or other. All right. And they were brought into Sicily to kind of see the light of paganism. And basically the guy that was running Sicily was a very tough guy. And on the way to where they ultimately were going, which is Lentini, which is where they were killed, they stopped in Trecastani. And Trecastani is one of the places in Sicily that has an enormous festival, as we all know. Matter of fact, Esther, we have taken video, and we have a video.
We
right?
do have a whole episode on the festival of Trecastani.
And they were ultimately killed in Lentini. But between then and now, there was a whole bunch of miracles. To this day, there was a whole bunch of miracles. I mean, it's crazy. It's just unbelievable. It's a huge festival, one of the biggest in all of Italy. And it was brought into the United States. I think this is the 90-something odd year, 89th year. Next year is the 90th year in America. My grandfather, Gaetano Teresi, was one of the 4 original organizers. And I'm very pleased to say that since then, there's been either a Zappa or a Teresi, those are my surnames, involved with the society since then, including my brother Tommy, who I'm very proud to say has been doing it for at least 35 years. Representing the family, yeah.
Inside the church today, as you know, as they were preparing, and they were seriously dusting down every pew, spraying everything, really preparing for the festival on the 9th and 10th. Right where the heads of the saints are, there was the little sign, St. Alfio Society, Lawrence, Massachusetts. So I quickly took a picture and sent it to Al. So they're represented, and I'm sure people from the Lawrence area,
already
or people
here, I think,
originally from the Lawrence area, will be at that feast. So very exciting.
One of the biggest fellows that I've known in my whole life that has a fervor for St. Alfio's is this fellow from Massachusetts, right around the Haverhill area. His name is Dominic Messina. he's a holy man. He really is a holy man. And he comes over here. The fervor that he shows to the people in Lawrence is unbelievable. But he's here right now working with the crews over here.
Oh, he's here already?
Yeah, Dominic is already here. I guess he's going to be here for a couple more weeks. And he spends 7 days a week. He goes to here, this festival. He'll go up to Sant'Afio because they have a companion festival. I think it's earlier. And then he'll even go to Lentini. So this fellow is a good example of somebody who is a faithful believer. And his family is a faithful believer. Believe me when I tell you that.
There's also a town in Australia.
That one, yeah, there's one in Australia. One
that celebrates the three saints. But really another example of saints that during the Roman times would not be willing to give up their Christianity. You know, San Agata, we know Santa Lucia, and all the others. But very important, 250 A.D., after Christ, that they were martyred in Tre Castagni. And there's also a Hall of Miracles inside of that church that is just remarkable. Since the late 1700s, they've been commissioning these paintings dedicated to demonstrate how, you know, these three saints came to the intercession. So people, you know, got hurt, physically hurt somehow. There was an accident, or during World War II, maybe a bomb exploded, a person got hurt. They went and prayed for San Alfio, Philadelphia, Cirino for their intercession. Miracle happened, and they commissioned a picture, and that's inside the Hall of Miracle, which is a most unusual collection of pictures depicting these miracles.
Yeah, so you were just there today with Rick, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, and how did Rick, she was with a good friend of ours, a client of ours, and how did Rick enjoy it?
Well, it happened to be closed today because they're getting ready for the festival, but it is usually open all the time.
So you couldn't get in there?
We couldn't get in there. The priest wouldn't open it for us. I tried to pull all the strings, but anyway,
no kidding.
He said it's getting prepared for the feast. So that was very cool.
Wow. Yeah. And the priest said that?
Yeah. They're preparing it for the feast.
It's good thing I wasn't there.
The other
saints,
thing,
there would have been four saints.
I do have to say something that is quite remarkable. We went out to pizza last night, and as many of you guys know, no more masks required indoors in Sicily and Italy. And it was strange, you guys, going into places and some people not wearing masks, but it was almost like back to normal. Can I even say that? I don't know.
See,
but it felt strange.
Here's what she says. Okay. The first thing she said to me was about a mask. Don't you feel weird? No, I don't feel weird. Let me tell you what I registered in my head. We found the best damn pizzeria in a long time, and it's right down the street from us. A place on the 114 that we go by all the time. And it says, what does it say? Dietro la mura?
Dietro la mura.
Yeah. What does that mean? Behind the wall. Okay. So I've been saying, geez, you know,
for months,
right? So finally, Stefania says, "Oh, it's very good." So we went there to vet it out last night, and it's this place. And Jimmy Ingram, you got to love this place, by the way. It's owned by a Neapolitan guy who makes authentic, thin Neapolitan pizza. That I gave it a very high grade in my evaluation. We did a video on it that we'll show later on. I think this week or something.
Well, actually, he's a Sicilian. He had red hair, and Norman Sicilian. He's from Catania, and he studied at a school.
Excuse me.
In Napolitano, and brought it here. And what was very remarkable is how thin the crust is. Really, really thin, like a pita crust. Like
the sauce was just remarkable.
What made the sauce so good?
Esther, you want to know something? Let me tell you something. When a pizza is thin, you have about 2 seconds to make an impression on the eater.
Yeah.
So if it's crummy sauce, it stinks. All right. But this guy makes the most delicious sauce with the most freshest ingredients and the cheese. I even had a few things put on it yesterday, which I normally never do. I had anchovies put on it, and I had olives put on it. Man, I'll tell you what, the guy hit it right out of the ballpark on that.
And Rick had alla norma, so
he had the alla norma,
eggplant and ricotta salata, and he said it was one of the best pizzas he's had. So that was a great find. The staff were very friendly. They're very excited to work with us. So very fun stuff going on.
Well, to make a long story short, we're bringing our group from Rome, from the university there, either the first or the third night for pizza. Only pizza. Only pizza. Nothing else. Everything else is just a pizzeria. They have other stuff, hamburger. I'm not gonna get hamburger, but I have to
That
say
was
something
surprising.
else
They
too.
had hamburger, they had beef, they had a hamburger from China.
They have great beer. I don't usually drink beer, but they had great beer on the spindle. It was a blonde beer, Italian made. Man, was it good. Terrific, terrific. So that's just part of the things that we've done this week. There's a bazillion other things, and she's going to allow me today to say.
So what do you want to talk about?
All right, I want to talk about a
Very
couple of
exciting.
things. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is, for some bizarre reason, I've been sitting out where our other deck, because what happens is in the morning when it's hot here, it's a little bit too hot to sit here after 10 o'clock.
The sun rises.
The sun rises, comes off the Ionian Sea. So we go in the back. I go in the back, and I sit on our other deck. Which, when I always sit there, I always think of my pal Jim Ingram, because Jim Ingram is our dear friend, and we have spent many, many enjoyable nights commiserating on that deck. But in the morning now, I've been going for the last week or so. When I've been sitting on that deck having my coffee, I've been thinking about my mom, my mother. I was like, what, I mean, I think about my mother all the time, but especially she was been speaking to me for the last week. So I couldn't understand why. Then I started to look. I was gazing at a new plant that we received from our friend next door.
For my birthday.
And on the plant was that little thing that gives you instructions of how to water it, that I had left on the plant, but I never bothered gazing at what the name of the plant is. And I took it off, and this is it. And it says over here in Camellia Bianco, it's a white camellia. Now, white camellia tree, okay? The first two blossoms blossomed last week, and I sent pictures. Remember the pictures? They were just beautiful when she was in the States. So why is my mom, okay? When I brought my mother here when she was 80, she had always told me the story about her mother in our ancestral home in Tricastani, where the last thing that her mother planted was a small, strapping camellia tree, 3 feet high. Okay. So then fast forward through life, and I brought my mom here when she was 80. Okay. 60, 70 years later, 80 years later, 75 years later. And I got permission from the owner to have a tour of her ancestral house as a surprise. Okay. And you open the front gates, and in front of us was this enormous camellia tree.
I never knew this story.
Right? A camellia tree. So my mother was completely blown away. All right. So I remember I asked the guy if I could take a branch, a small cutting home, which he gave me. I cut it. I brought it home. I tried to grow it. It died. Okay. Following year, when I came back, I knocked on the guy's door again, and I asked him if I could have another cutting because the cutting died. And he laughed. He said, sure, come on. And he gave me another cutting. This time I brought it to a nursery in North Andover, and I basically threatened the guy that if this thing died, forget about it. But it died because of climatic differences. Okay. So now my mom died in 2010, 12 years ago. Okay. And the picture of her clutching that camellia tree is in her casket, along with the pictures from her mother's ancestral home. And this tree was given to us, and I found it, and she's been speaking to me about this. So guess what? All of a sudden now, this tree.
So in the morning, you have your dad talking to you when you're having your
coffee.
When I
have my coffee, I speak to my dad.
And then when you sit on the other side, you have your mom.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
And it's starting to, the new growth is taking place now. So I'm going to nurture this I'm not going to bring it back to the States, but I'm going to nurture this guy. And I really feel, Esther, that I have a piece of my mom here
That's
with
beautiful.
me, that she spoke to me. So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing.
Beautiful. Someone was asking, I think Jim was asking, is the camellia still living?
Yes,
it is well and alive. So Atlantis is here in Sicilia. Good to hear from that. We have Curtis is arriving today with Jody. We're very exciting time. Nancy
Downtown
Murato
Curtis
is here.
Brown.
There's a lot of Americans arriving to Sicily. And, that's a good point because last night, and really a lot in this period, I've been getting emails. Is it safe to travel to Sicily? What's the situation? Blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, the masks no more, indoors only strongly recommended. All festivals are back on. That person specifically asked if the archaeological museums and all of the other museums are open. Yes, they are. You don't need to wear a mask indoors, only some places, including some public buildings and so forth. And it is safe to come to Sicily. Sicily is open. They are so ready for tourists to start again. So very exciting times for Sicily for sure.
Well, I'm kind of looking forward to trying to help the Sicilian economy. I mean, today I received a call from a very well-known attorney in United States who's here in Sicily. He asked for my help and Massimo's help on purchasing a home over here. So I called Massimo up. I informed him about the new client. But I say, Massimo, I says, you know what we ought to do? We ought to do another video with you, okay? But not on home sales because that's up on the. I says, there's a lot of people who have relatives in Italy who are dying, and they live in the United States. So Massimo has promised me that soon, very soon, we're going to do a video on probating an estate in Sicily, in Italy.
Well, so Massimo and I did a video a few months ago. It's on our channel, renting or buying, the difference, what he recommends, and so forth. And you're right, a lot of issues with wills, and I think people would be interested to hear an interview with Massimo about wills. What do you guys think? Is that something you would be interested in? Also, anything else that you would want an Italian lawyer to talk about? Let me know in the comments. We have some people arriving on the 10th. Very cool. Palermo. You know who's here too is Pat Gilfano. Welcome, Pat Gilfano. She's here in Palermo.
She's going to join us for a couple of days.
She's going to join us. I see Peter Scipoletti here. How are you doing, Peter Scipoletti?
He's in a rehab.
Thinking of you.
I hope he's all right.
You're doing much, much better. Yeah, I'm hoping that he is doing much, much better. The other big thing, Alfred, is that your grandson got into the big school.
Okay, here's what the scoop is. I have 4 grandchildren, 2 by my daughter Jen and 2 by my son Matthew, okay, who I'm very proud of, and I profoundly miss them. And I find out that as I'm getting older, I'm missing them even more, by the way, okay? So MJ, on his own volition, because he's a superb baseball player, informed his father that he wanted to go to my alma mater, Austin Preparatory School in Reading, Massachusetts. My son Matthew had attended St. John's Prep in Danvers, and then a couple other high schools. After a couple of years, he decided he wanted to go to public school. Okay, so that's one thing. So MJ is a good student, A student, superb 3-sport athletes. For those of you on my Facebook, I always brag about him. I put his pictures up, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And yesterday, he got accepted to Austin Prep as a 7th grader because Austin Prep goes 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So he's going to essentially be there for 5 years, okay? And really, once he graduates from Austin Prep, or if he graduates from Austin Prep, he can be able to write his own ticket in life because those people, they're saying at Austin Prep is Tolle Lige, St. Augustine, take up and read. If nothing else, he's going to be very well educated, which has gotten me through and all my friends from Austin Prep who are still lifelong friends.
Want to show him what you're going to give him?
Okay, so now I decided when I go home at the end of June, I'm giving my grandson, a present. So I dug through my stuff. I mean, dug, right?
It's right there in the bedroom.
And this is my Austin Prep varsity letter from the year 1968. This is 54 years I've had it.
Let me see.
No, wait.
I want to look at it. That is beautiful. I can't believe we both have our letters.
Letters, right?
I don't have mine here.
Here's what I want to do with this letter. I want to give this letter to my grandson MJ because he
Mhm.
would appreciate it. But there's something missing on this letter. I've got my varsity letters that I earned in basketball, don't symbolize by the basketball here, in track and field
Mhm.
down here. But what must have fallen off during the years is my football. And I want to be able to give this to him as a kind of like a present. Where can I get a little metal football, a cheap gold
Look,
plated football?
look on
I want to put it
Amazon.
on
Look on Amazon.
before I give it to my grandson. What are you laughing
Huh?
at?
Look on Amazon. I bet you find it.
Oh, I'm like panicking. I have to figure out where to get one.
All right. So Tony Patty says, wish I could be there. The exchange euro dollar is great now. It's unbelievably good, the exchange
It's
rate.
been
And we
going
were
up the last
just
couple of days. It's at 9 now.
it's
It's
at
at nine
nine.
nine. Yeah, it was at 6.5 last week. That's a good thing to be if
Hmm?
you're
Yeah, if you're
pay
traveling,
with your credit cards, your
yeah, if
American
you're
credit cards.
traveling here now to Sicily, definitely a good time to get your euros. Or if you're coming later, get them now for sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my second inspirational story. Actually, I've told 3 stories. You've allowed me to talk to 3 stories about Tre Castagni, my mother's community tree, and MJ, and she hasn't reprimanded me for being like over the top once today.
Well, you haven't been.
Why?
Well,
Jeez.
sweetie pie, you haven't been. You haven't been political, provocational. So, what else do you want to talk about?
There's many other things I want to talk about. Can I talk about something else?
No, you can.
Some
Why
of
don't
this,
you? Why don't
some
you
of this
ask me a
stuff
question? Why don't you ask me a question for a change?
pertaining to Sicily.
Exactly.
About what?
I don't know. Why don't you ask me a question for a change?
Why the fascination with mussels or
Hmm?
Kotzi? I've been dying to figure out your fascination with Kotzi.
It's not really a fascination. I mean, you have a thing about pizza, right? You have a thing about pasta. I like mussels. I like calamari. I like fish in general. But I never ate mussels like this in red sauce before I came here in Sicily. There are a lot of foods here that I never had as much as I do when I'm here. Artichokes, for instance. Do you know growing up, we never had artichokes? Maybe in Israel, we had a few artichokes, but in Brazil, I don't remember ever eating. In the United States, I never remember eating any artichokes. And here, they just tasted so good and they're so abundant. Same with mussels, same with a lot of foods. But I think you'll find that when you live in another place, whatever fruits, vegetables, or items are
Thanks, Leanne.
very abundant, and maybe the way they prepare it is very different. Everything here tastes different, but I definitely acquired a taste for mussels, for artichokes, things that I never had before.
I'm all I care about when she's always banging on me about eating fish. Okay, and
Maybe in an arts and crafts store. That's a good idea.
if somebody can find one for me, I would pay good cash money for it, and I'll give you some other type of a present that'll be a unique present in the history of the world. If you could help me find a gold-plated little football that you can stick on that thing, it kind of means a lot to me, frankly.
Honey, listen, your stories are great.
I
See,
told
you're
my
not.
son Matt. I says, "What do you think about it?" Matt says, "Well, the worst he can do is throw it in a a drawer someplace." But here's what I know: the things from my grandfather that I have, okay, and maybe it's because I'm older now. I'm not sure, but the things that they're treasures to me. Okay, so maybe it would be something that would motivate him at, as an Austin Prep school chum, so to speak. Right.
Speaking of, one of the things that I did when I went home to Boston, spent a lot of time with my mom going through some of her old stuff. And one of the things that she gave me, can you guys see these? These are a collection of over 65 years. Well, this is half of old spoons collected from all over the world. Literally, there's some from Greece, there's some from uh, Jerusalem. There's some from, and I don't know which ones I'm picking up, but talk about treasures. My mom and I went through all of these, and I did a little bit of a video with her. Oh, these are from Brazil. Look how elegant these are. These are from Brazil. There's a bunch of them from Hungary, Austria as well. There's about 50 of them in here. But she went through, and every time I lifted one up and I said, here's the one from Prague. Well, she remembers being in Prague because that was the day, the year that John F. Kennedy was murdered, and she bought this. So she's
63.
like, "Oh, that was Prague, 1963. I was in Prague." So she has some kind of memory attached. But you know what, you guys? I love these things that are passed down from generation to generation. And Alfred, just as much as you so treasured the things that come from your mother, your father, and your grandparents, the pictures, those old pictures that I have also from my Hungarian grandmother and grandfather. But for me to receive this from my mom, and for Alfred, look at these. I should take some pictures of all of these. But for Alfred to pass that down to his grandson is going to be something that he'll treasure for a long, long time.
Well,
I can't read all of these. They're too small
the
right
reason
now.
I even brought this up was because I wanted to have a suggestion for you. Okay, we have about 50% of our viewers are 50 and up. Okay, which means that 50%, probably even more, of our viewers have grandkids. Okay, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you pick out yourself one or two treasured items of your past, maybe even linking you to your mother or grandfather, and write a little note up and give it to your grandchildren.
Or your children.
Well, your
or your
grandchildren especially,
or
because
your
that
age.
would be speaking from the past
Mhm.
of your great grandmother or grandfather, or your great great grandmother or grandfather. And you never know, it might whet your kids, grandkids' interest in your life. So really, this is, I mean, if for my son to say, "Dad, that's a great idea," it has to be a good idea because my son never tells me I'll do anything I do is great. All right, what else?
Penny, I would like to know how to locate a working property, not home, of my nonna. My cousins will not even discuss it with me. It should be in the Vecchio Ghibellina area. Where is that, Penny? Send me a note. Listen, Penny, the best thing
Do you want
to
me to answer
do.
that?
Well, do you want her to write you an email? I think that's the best thing, right?
Look, what is a
Working
working property?
property.
Not a.
And
Oh,
where
you're
is
talking about
that?
agricultural land. I bet you she's talking about agricultural land. You have to find out. You've got to find out some basic info, or you have to hire a guy that does genealogical research in Sicily for that. That can contact the comunes and get yourself going. Uh, Now more and more uh, of the town halls are getting connected, so it should be easier. Typically, for a genealogist in Sicily to do a report for you is about 300 or 400 euro, depending on exactly what the task is that you want them to do. But it's getting a lot better than it was 20 years ago. So that's what my suggestion would be. And they have two big ones, one in Palermo and one in Catania. And there's also another guy in Jade that does it. And more interestingly enough, there's a lot of Facebook group pages now on Sicilian genealogy. So if you're on Facebook,
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Amazon has gold-plated charms. Just saw them. Thank you, Pat. Like I said, Amazon has it.
Pat.
Very good.
I'm gonna look as soon as we
My
get off.
grandfather is from Vecchio Ghibellina. It's in the province of Trapani. So that's
Trapani.
very interesting. Jim, I still think we ought to share family pictures from Sicily. I think I mentioned this in one of the other shows that at some point we'd like to do a collection of your family from Sicily and put it into a little bit of a video. So if you guys want to start sharing it with me, email it to me or message me some of your pictures. By the way, if Tony Patty's still here, I have a big announcement. The segment Porto Empedocle in the province of Agrigento will be published later this week. So very excited. And Tony's family is from there. It was so much fun going and finding his ancestral home where he grew up. Downtown, and it's right outside of the Valley of Temples and on the way to the Scala dei Turkey. Hey, Al, did you see this in the news? So part of the Scala dei Turkey, I don't know if you guys know about that, the Turkish stairs over there in the province of Agrigento. They're beautiful white staircase-like structures made out of stone. So part of that area is owned privately by a Sicilian who just announced that he asked Elon Musk if he wants to buy his share. Can you even imagine that?
Buy
The
a
guy
chair
said,
of what? of his.
buy a share of his property to keep it as to keep it in private hands. Very interesting.
The reason it's called the Turkish Steppes is goes back to the day of the Barbary pirates from Tunisia and Algeria, when they used to do the raids. It would be very easy for them to land their boat and climb up the incline.
Well, actually, they were the barbarians that came from Africa. And what happens is that the locals didn't understand where they were coming from, and they inappropriately
Turks, they call them Turks.
called them Turks. And the reason it's Scala, staircase, it's because of that formation
Kind of looks like
of it.
Yeah.
And the reason that the barbarians landed in that area was because, first of all, there was no one living around that area. There's still no one living around that area. And because of the formation of the rocks, it was well protected from the wind. And it was an easy rock for the barbarians to spot because it's white. It landed there and was easy to climb. So Scala dei Turchi. But I got to tell you, there's been a lot of people over there painting it with all kinds of graffiti. So
there was some nitwits. There was some nitwits
a few months
that were
ago
against the something about the moose, the installation of cell phones and stuff like that. The big towers, and they ended up throwing red dye or red paint on them about 4 months ago. Remember?
Yeah,
they were caught.
No. They were protesting the Green Pass.
The Green Pass?
Yeah, they were protesting. John, nice to see you here. Buongiorno from California. I owe you guys an email, John. I didn't forget about you. Well, this is fortuitous. When are you going to Florida? Well, we were just talking about that.
Actually, here's a dilemma, okay, for me. I need to go home. I decided I'm going to be 72 years old in June. Yes, I know I don't look 72 because I'm still profoundly good looking for an old guy, but nonetheless, I'm 72, which means all my innards are 72. And by the way, when you're 72, that means that when I turn 72, that means I've completed 72 years on this earth, and I'm really starting my 73rd year. So all of a sudden, I lose a year. I decided I cannot tolerate the weather here January and February because my home is not insulated. It goes concrete, reinforced concrete, iron rods, and that's it. So when it's, say, for example, 40 degrees here, it feels like it's 20 degrees in New England, and it's just knocking the crapola as I get older out of my arthritis. So I decided I want to go back to the States, but not to New England. I could never tolerate New England anymore. So I've decided on Charlestown, South Carolina, as a good place. If I want to go to Florida, I could, to see my brother Tommy. If I wanted to fly up to see my kids, it's a few-hour flight. So I think starting next year, I'm going to go there. Esther will stay here, I believe. She doesn't want. Esther is now a Sicsophile. You don't understand. She's more Sicilian than I am. So she'll stay here to hold the fort down. And I think I'm going to go home for health reasons, even though there's nothing wrong with me.
Testa di Turkey is a dessert from Castelbuono.
Is it? Yeah.
You know how I know that spring is here? At the Caprese bar over in Tre Castagni, where we stopped at the Piazza Marconi. The gelato's out.
The gelato and the granita.
The gelatos are out. So usually a lot of places don't serve gelato, definitely not granita in the winter. But for them to start the gelato, they said they put it out last week. Spring is on its way.
There is nothing better than that. And I'm going to write a story about this. The first granita of the new year. Okay, we met with our friend Michael, who came into down here at the Eden Bar in Artichokes this week. And I normally don't get like that type of stuff, but
you never get that.
I got an almond granita that I put it in my mouth, and I was like, this is the most delicious thing I've ever had, right? And it's been like only 6 months since I have. I'm not a gelato fan. She's a gelato-aholic, this one over here.
I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
You like gelato.
Honey, I only eat granita.
Well, there's somebody else that needs gelato. I'm going to get in trouble if I open up my mouth anymore.
Huh?
You eat gelato? Oh, that's right.
Granita,
Wait a
what's
minute.
it? Mulberry,
I eat gelato.
mulberry.
In my old age, I
Honey,
got us
let me,
confused.
okay, so let me just make sure you get this. You're not going to get in trouble if you're not insulting someone or insulting me. There you go. Now we got
That's
that
not
out
an
of it.
insult, right?
It's not. So you're
Okay.
not going to get in trouble.
Thank God.
Huh?
Thank
So you're not going to
God.
get in trouble.
Thank God.
My aunt is looking for a wood stove. She lives in Belvedere, Sicily. She was told the gas is limited. Are you guys upgrading to wood
I can answer
stoves?
that. The answer is no. Tell her to go to Brickman. Brickman is like it's like the Home Depot of Italy. Okay, the places that you can buy all your stuff. Go to there, and tell her not to. If she wants to get wood, she can burn it. But over here, a lot of people burn the wood pellets.
Yeah.
They burn wood pellets. You buy a big bag of them, and
A
they're
lot of
pretty.
places
Yeah,
sell them,
you can do wood,
even
but the answer
supermarkets.
is we, believe it or not, in the wintertime, we don't heat up the whole house at nighttime. Usually we shut the heat off when we go to sleep because we have a heating unit only in our bedroom. So our bedroom is nice and toasty, but the rest of the house, the temperature goes down, which allegedly is supposed to be healthier
Yeah,
if you
for sure.
keep a cooler house
For
instead
sure.
of a warmer house. That's how we do it.
I love Charlestown, but it gets cold and wet during the winter.
It does?
So,
Forget it. I'm going to go to Hawaii then.
Yes, Brickaman. Sean Lewis. Yes, he did say Brickaman. No, Al, you know, Granita. What's my favorite?
You
Mulberry
used to like
and
mulberry and
Meloni.
Maloney, right?
That's Granita, not
Right.
gelato.
That's Granita, correct. But I thought that you used to get the pistachio gelato. Too,
Never.
no?
Never. Okay. No, never. Sean wants to know how long. Alp wants to stay pretty much most of the year, right?
Where?
In Charlestown and
He says
Florida.
here. How long will you stay here, Al, throughout the
Well,
year?
he's in the United States.
Oh, just
Few
enough.
months.
Maximum 2 months. I don't think 2 months. I just want to go there, rent a place for even a month, okay? And I want to see my brother. I want to see my sister. I want to see my kids. I want to eat a lobster. I want to
In the
I
winter.
want to become
In
an
the winter?
American again.
In the winter, lobster in the winter.
Esther, I don't know. I just want to. I want. You know what it is? I want. I want to become an American again.
You are an American.
No,
dear.
I'm talking about being American again in the United States for like 1 month a year, just to see what it's like. Okay, because I haven't done it for a long time. I am an American. I love the United States, despite its. You love them in the United States, warts and all, right?
I have to tell you that spending that month in Boston and with my family was incredibly fulfilling. One of the biggest things that we miss is family, and life is short, as you know, and it's good to stand. So I endorse you. Just go home 3 months.
The famous hero of the War of 1812, Lieutenant Stephen Decatur, who we talked about previously when he hijacked the book. He did the raid to destroy the Philadelphia after it had been caught by the Barbary pirates, His favorite quote in life is, "My country, right or wrong," okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which I have always taken to heart. I've known about this for years. Not my political party, right or wrong, my country, the United States of America, the common folk of America. I love all things Americana. I want to go to a bar and listen to shit-kicking music, if you know what I mean. Tapping my foot, listening to bluegrass. I want to eat hominy grits and black-eyed peas and do all that stuff. Barbecue, a good barbecue. I haven't done that for a long time.
We have a barbecue, just haven't
No. I'm not talking about a barbecuing chicken. I'm talking about barbecue. And if you do barbecue, no, that's not barbecue. I'm talking about a smoker. Brisket smoked. What are those things called? Ribs smoked. That's different stuff.
Okay.
They don't have that stuff.
Where are you going to be in Sicily? I would love to know.
Who?
People are saying that you should go to Florida. Thank you, Joanne. We love you both. Love your YouTube channel. And by the way, if you guys are new here, consider subscribing to our channel. We come to you every single week.
Oh, I have something more.
Wait a second.
About our channel.
Yep.
Listen, they have a new button. Esther was informing me about this. They have a new button that says thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks. If you have a chance, can you press that button? And the only reason I'm saying for it is that every time that you press the like button, or every time you press like this thank you button, we get like a half a cent.
No, that's not how it works.
Something
honey.
ridiculously cheap. But guess what? Or every time you watch those ads that go in front of you that says, skip this ad, if you actually watch that ad before you skip that ad, we make like a whole penny.
Now,
Or maybe
listen.
maybe even a penny and a half.
Donna says, "Come to Mississippi. You're talking Mississippi food." He'll
You
never.
want something,
You know
Donna?
what? He'll never have
I
that
would
stuff.
go.
He
I
won't
would
go
go
to
to
a bar.
Mississippi.
For some reason today,
What?
he's in like in a reminiscing. Like I don't know. I haven't heard him talk about like this in
You know what it is? Because in
several months.
June 26th.
And by the way, the weather is just getting nicer. Things are opening up. So this is more like winter talk.
You don't
This
understand.
is winter talk. I'm
You
not
don't-
sure. I've been out all day, so I'm not sure what's going on. But I'll get to the bottom of it.
Listen to me, okay? June 26th is my birthday, okay? That's the day they found Custer at the Little Bighorn. He was
My
dead.
birthday's before you.
That was the day that the Korean War started, okay? I'm going to be 72 years old. Now, you know what that makes me feel like? That makes me feel like I'm seeing the end of the runway.
Stop it.
No, you
I'm
don't
gonna stop it.
understand.
I'm gonna stop you right now.
I'm beginning to think about my
Al,
what's
I'm
it
gonna
called,
stop
man?
it. I'm stop you right now.
So I want to start
So I'm
doing
gonna
stuff
stop
that I
you
always
right now.
want to do. The so-called bucket list. I
But
want to
listen.
start doing a bucket list.
Okay. Number one, you said a bucket list was going to Hungary. That's never happened.
I have to go to Hungary. Remind me to go to Hungary, will you please?
Okay.
No, I want to
and
put that on the bucket list. Okay.
And
we'll
you
go to
know
Hungary.
what? You don't look it, you don't act it, you're not done. So stop talking like this. My mom is 78 years old, and I never have heard her talk like this. And she just keeps on going, doesn't have this fatalistic view. She just keeps living her life. Every day she cherishes her life. She's a very faithful, very prayerful woman, and she just moves on.
Yeah, but she's Hungarian. I'm just saying, we're much more empathetic. We have roots, deep roots to our soul.
Joya, this is a good question. So first of all, Joya says, how long is it cold during the winter? So it depends where you are, right? So if you're a little bit in a mountainous town, then it's going to be colder. Jody, for example, is in Librisi. She's on a hill. She's a little bit of a small mountain. She's reporting a lot of wind during the winter, a little bit of snow, higher elevation. You're going to get a little bit of snow. But over here by us, I haven't seen snow here in probably 5-6 years. And when I did see it one time, it was just like a little bit of flurries and everyone was freaking out. But cool, January, February, by the end of February, it's starting to get warm. Usually by Festivale, we're out without a jacket during the day and then putting on a jacket. But down here in lower elevations, probably January, February are the coldest months.
All right, I have another massive disclosure to make. May I make another massive disclosure as you're scrolling through those things and picking up another name?
I have cousins from Vecchio Gabella that might be able to help find.
Oh,
Thank
there we
you
go.
very much, Anthony. Are you going to announce what you think? Philip wants to know. Philip, his birthday is June 26, mine 6, D-Day. Imagine
D-Day.
that. I'm a D-Day girl. Philip, when is yours? Nice to see you on here. Okay.
So, anyways, let me tell you about the stuff that I use to obviate my severe left leg trauma caused by not having basically any knees. It's all bone on bone, and I'm a Chicken Little. Call me Chicken Little. I don't care. I don't want to get a knee transplant.
It's been a struggle.
I just don't want to get it. Okay. And the reason is because my body is my temple. All right. And I don't want foreign shit put in there. I swear to God, I don't. I have 2 stents in my heart, but had I known they were going to do that, I don't think I would have even done that, because I was out cold when I had a little heart problem. I woke up.
What does that have to do with your knee?
So anyways, I found out the CBD stuff, the cream. So I went over here to the pharmacy because it's legal to have CBD stuff. That's the cannabis-based
Ciao,
stuff.
Francesco.
Ciao Francesco, e sentimi, per favore, domani sera vieni qua perché vuole vedere una cosa. Ok, ok. Domani sera perché ora sono. Ok, vedo. All right, so I want him to come and see some. But anyways, so the CBD stuff that they sell here is a 10 strength of 15 strength. Okay, so I paid.
What's the one you bought?
Wait a
I
minute,
bought.
I paid one with some eyedropper over here. The guy says, "Oh, this is real new. It's real strong. It's 25." All right, so I bought it. You use a dipper. And you okay. So, anyways, to make a long story short, my daughter Katie buys me this stuff in Salem, New Hampshire.
I bought it.
You bought it, excuse me. It's the strength is 500.
500.
25 here, 500 there. And
But
all you
that's
have to do is you
interesting.
have to put a little bit of crap on your knee.
You can't ask for a stronger one here.
That's it. That's all they have. So this stuff actually works. This CBD works. So when I go to the States, guess what? I can put the CBD on it. If I want to go into New Hampshire, Massachusetts, I could even smoke joint. Yes, I smoke marijuana when I go to the States because my arthritis goes away. I get this thing called a vape pen, specially formulated for arthritis and Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis, and I feel like a kid again. But I'm over here. They don't have that stuff because,
Well, that's really interesting because a
What?
lot of the medication, like your other cream that you put the
Voltaren gel.
Voltaren gel, you very, very high. Hey, lots of June babies over here. Very cool. You have to Ricetta Kulusu said. What
Go
is
have
that?
some Riquetta. What is that, Vince?
Someone also said, Al, why don't you invest in a good heating system? Huh.
Because I don't want to pay
That's-
$1,500 a month for heat, or $800 or $900 a month of heat. It's already gone up the last 4 months 50%. Our heating bill, and guess what?
Wait a sec. Joya wants to know how much is a good heating system to put and run for the cold weather. We have one in our bedroom, and that works just perfectly.
That's an electric, but that goes on your electric bill, because if you're going to have a heating system, we have radiators in all our rooms. Okay, so I have it set usually at 68. Now that's even harder than I ran it in America, but you have to understand the homes here are so drafty that 68 effectively is like 62 in the States. Okay.
Yeah, because we have the offshore wind
We have the
coming.
wind
So there's a
coming in,
lot
the
to
windows
consider
stink,
where
you
you're going to
know.
be buying or where you want to locate or where you want to stay if you're going to be staying in the winter.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically we have, I don't want to say we have a budget because we don't have a budget, but when I say a huge bill, then I freaking hit the roof, obviously, because I don't want to give my money away to some oligarch here. I mean, basically that's what the whole story is the rich over here control everything, just like the rich in the United States control everything. And I'm tired of that stuff. So she is now really getting into wearing sweaters. She has a
You're
bunch of...
kidding me, right?
No, she wears sweaters. What? You
In
wear...
the winter?
In the wintertime you wear sweaters.
And when did I not wear one?
I don't know. I never saw sweaters on you before.
Go finish your drink. Go finish your drink. All right, what do you guys want to hear?
You're
more?
pushing
Just
on me
go
here. You want
finish
to
your
push me out of the
drink.
shot? Okay, go ahead. Anyways.
All right, so that's that. So we have a busy week coming up. We've got the tours coming. I'm excited to meet the bishop and the mayor of Acciariale.
What are you going to say to the bishop? Have you prepared a little statement in Italian?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to be making a statement. Bob, who's the commissioner of the New Jersey Italian American Heritage Commission, he's going to be but I'm going to be interviewing them. So I'm curious, is there's any particular question you would like to know from the Bishop of Acciariale? Rick asked a really good question today.
You're not allowing me to
Rick
go,
asked-
so I can't even go. She's afraid I would embarrass her. That I'd say something about it.
Let's tell the people
Come
why
on, I'm
you're
giving you
really
good-
not going.
I don't feel like going.
That's it.
I don't.
He doesn't usually go on the tours anyway. He shows
I
up
go
for
on
dinner.
the tours, but I
You
don't
show
want to
up
go
for
to this
dinner.
particular one because
So wait a
there's going to
second.
be too many
You don't want to
chefs
walk.
on board.
You
There's
don't want to walk.
there's Bob DeBassi, there's Bobby, there's Breezy. There's enough adults, so to speak, for 6 kids from coming in from.
Okay.
But you don't need me there.
Well, you don't want to walk.
No, I'll just show up at dinner
I've
time.
been begging him to get his goddamn knee done because it's really frustrating.
I'm not getting my knee done. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Period.
All
End of
right.
sentence.
All right. My mom has had both her knees and her hip, and she's doing great.
That's some people
And
do
she's
that.
from-
My brother
well,
Tommy's like,
Hungarian,
"Oh,
you
this
know?
is hurting me. I'm cutting off my arm. I'm going to put on a prosthetic." I mean, he's always ahead of the game. this is what the good Lord Jesus Christ gave me. This body. So that's it.
Okay, real
Jim, I
quick.
know Jim Ingram is sitting there saying, Al is so full of shit. He's
What
saying
was
that
the
right
name
now.
of the festival or procession? The one in Tre Castagni is San Alfio, Philadelphia, and Chirino and Sean Lewis. We have an entire video on our channel. And the one in Acciariale, it's Carnevale because it was postponed because of COVID earlier. So in February, so they're going to have it now.
I heard
so that's
Sean
very
Lewis speak.
excited. Wait a second, I'm not
Yeah.
done. So that's very exciting. But I was saying something about what is it that you guys would like to hear in particular? And so Rick today had a very interesting question. He said, we went by Zaffarana Etnea, and on the way we saw
When?
today
Went all
Zaffarana
the way up
Etnea,
that zipping out, huh?
and we saw some of the churches and some of the buildings that were destroyed by the earthquake of 2019. Right? Remember, there was an earthquake in that
Rosario
area.
Faraci was the hero of that deal.
2019. And he wanted to know, this is very interesting, is there earthquake insurance? Which I knew the answer was no. And then he said, well, ultimately, who's responsible for fixing? Because he was told by a family member that the government would be fixing some of these buildings, some of these homes. So, do you know the answer to that?
What's the question?
I just asked you. Who's responsible for fixing the church and the buildings?
Who gives the money? There's government rehab money.
And does the money to fix the churches come from Rome? Does it come from Sicily? Where does that money come from?
They'll do basic rehabilitation. They're not going to rebuild.
Who's going to pay for it?
Who's going to pay for it? Is they've already delegated the money per area.
But who is it coming from?
The national government.
So it is. So it's not coming from the Vatican.
Don't get me started
Is it coming
on the Vatican.
Is it coming from the Archdiocese of Sicily?
Don't get me started on the Archdiocese. I promised you today. She got a little bit annoyed with me for some bizarre reason. She says I was a little bit too raw last week.
No, I didn't say that.
Or somebody said I was a little bit too raw.
No one said that.
Somebody said I was what? I was a dick last week. But I wasn't
Al,
a dick.
you weren't a dick.
Thank you.
You weren't a dick. You were just a little insulting.
Anyways, I have to go back, and I want to say this. Joanne Borelli, who I don't know, by the way, automatically I love this woman because she says over here, Alfred, you are very faithful with your religion. Enjoy each day to the fullest. I believe God watches over you always. I believe. I also believe deeply.
You are blessed with Esther, and you will live to be 100. I'm inspired by your faith.
I also
June
believe
baby,
that.
Another June baby.
Can I say something to you too? And again, another full disclosure. For the last year and a half, well, of course, I took theology for 20 years, for heaven's sakes. I mean, the Christian religion, my religion has always been me and my Lord Jesus Christ, okay? And all the other stuff all the other stuff is basically human impediments. That's how I've always felt about it. But about 2 years ago, I discovered not the teachings of Islam, not being a Muslim. I'm not a Muslim. I'm a Catholic. But let me tell you something. Their core beliefs, most of their core beliefs, make me a better person. For example, I pray 5 times a day. I never prayed 5 times a day as a Catholic, but Muslims pray 5 times a day.
Well, that's interesting.
I found even if it's for 4 minutes, okay, I'll say 3 Hail Mary, and I pray Christian stuff, by the way. I'll say 3 Hail Marys, 3 Our Fathers, 3 Glory Bees, okay? And in the morning, I make sure when I get up, before I walk, I say an act of contrition, and I always remember the souls of the faithful departed. And as a matter of fact, I'll just tell you one last thing. I had a discussion.
Well, wait, before you go on,
yeah.
I just want to say, I don't have a number of how many times I pray, but throughout the day, I will find myself, if my brain is troubled or something's troubled, like earlier we had something, I said a quick prayer. I don't think there should be a number. You should just say it when it calls your name.
Listen,
wait a second, I'm not done.
Okay, but I disagree with you. I think you have to have a number.
I don't think so.
5 times a day.
People,
morning, dusk, dawn, midday, But you know what happens
Well,
is
in any
it's
case,
like a trapeze. You
yes.
feel cerebral. You
Well,
feel
in any case, I think when it
calm.
comes to you, obviously first thing in the morning and last thing at night, I say my prayers, but also throughout the day, there are instances that the best thing I can do is just, as my mom said, just look up, give it up, surrender, and give it up, and say a prayer.
I
So
have
wait a
one last
second.
thing to say.
We're not done yet.
All right.
Alfio is here, and he has his
Because we love you, Jimmy.
a lot of people do. I want to know how
I
many
love
times.
talking philosophy and
I
theology with
would
Jimmy
love
Ingram.
to
He's a very
know
smart
how
man.
many times you guys pray, or if at all. So
May
in
I
any
say
case,
one more thing?
nope.
Come on, give me
I'm not
one
gonna.
more second,
I'm
because I'm
gonna.
very
I'm
profound
right.
today. I'm on a profound roll. Come on, just one more second.
It's me, Alfio, on my wife's desktop. I see my name on the chat. Miss you guys. Miss you too.
We miss you.
Alfio. Oh, we may have
That's
some
Angela.
real.
Angelina. That's his
No,
wife.
that's Alfio. He's on her
Ah,
laptop.
okay.
Listen,
I
we
love
may
that
have
family.
some good news for Artichokes and Articostello. Stand by.
So, anyways, I want to say two things, okay? Here are the two most important lines that you are, as a Catholic or a Christian, and when you say the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy will be done, okay? When I say those words and I'm walking, I stop and I open my hands like the Muslims do, and I look up into the sky and I say to my Lord Jesus Christ, thy will be done, okay?
Like I
And,
said, look up and
right.
surrender, because only
And then
one
the other
person is
thing
in
is,
charge.
when I say my glory be to the Father, to the Son, to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. Okay? The Muslims say, Allah said, and Allah is God, Allah said, be, and it was. Stop and think about that. Allah said, be. So, in other words, He created things, and it was. The similarities between, because they're children of the book, the similarities are unbelievably profound, and it's
Jesus
made
was
me
a
a better
prophet.
person. Huh?
Jesus was a prophet. It's me. So,
That's right. And
Donna, I say
so
prayers
is
all day as long as needed. If limited to a number, someone might miss their
there you
blessing.
go,
I
Donna.
agree 100%.
I'm
It's
glad you pray.
exactly,
Yours is the kingdom of heaven,
it's
sweetheart.
Alfred. It's exactly what I said. No need to set a
But
limit.
Sicilians have special priority. We get in the front because we're good cooks. Did you know that? It's in the Bible. Look for it. If you're a Sicilian, you go to heaven. They give you the best views.
On that note, there you go, folks. You got a little bit of everything here on You, Me, and Sicily.
Is Jimmy coming here?
I
What's the
hope
story,
you guys
Jimmy? Are you
enjoy.
coming?
You
Yes or
forgot
no?
to. Excuse me. Don't go
Because
anywhere
I'm going to
yet.
sell you
Excuse me.
seat.
Don't go anywhere. You
What?
forgot for the second time in a row to make the announcement on the June tour.
Oh, yes. What, June tour?
The special.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen. I have a couple of things to say
A couple.
about
You
stuff.
get to the point.
Number one, we're having an October trip, and Chris Leone will
It's
be
already
putting.
on. It's
already up.
I already
okay?
shared it.
Go to youmeandsicily.com and you can see our October trip. We're going to have one, but we got a lot of demand. If we have like 7 or 8 people, we'll put it on. So why don't you come in October? It's a great month. That's number one. Number two.
Go ahead.
And number two, I can't see myself.
I know.
Okay. Number two is this. She's going to she's going to go to the West Coast to see a lot of famous places like Palermo, Trapani, Monreale, Shaka, Masala d'Avallo, etc. We need to get a few sponsors for that road trip that she's doing. How about you contacting her and volunteering to be a sponsor for a portion of it, and we'll give you a name, like we'll I don't know what we're going to do, but something good. We're going to do something good on the videos. We need sponsors for this road trip. It's going to cost us a ton of money, especially with the prices going up and up. And we need to do some deferral of expenditures. And this is only so we can shoot video to make new episodes from the West Coast. On the East Coast, we're all set. Central Italy, Sicily,
No,
we're
we
all
still
set.
have a little bit to do. Yeah.
Huh?
Go ahead.
But anyways, that's what I wanted to say. Please contact Esther and throw in a couple of $100 if you possibly can afford it, especially if you're wealthy. If you're wealthy, throw more money. But,
Alfio says, Alfred, I can't believe anyone would call you a dick. You speak your mind and have no filter and you say it like it is, even if it sounds like a dick. I love you. You know, I agree with you, Alfio, except I draw the line when it's the insults.
You know, I don't insult. Okay. When I call somebody something, usually she gets offended when I call somebody a wussy.
No, I not that.
That's a
That
wussy is
doesn't.
like a wussy is
Al,
not.
Al,
What?
that's not why I got offended
Or if
last
I
time.
call somebody a vegetarian.
Al, you're exaggerating and you're being a dick.
I love. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's in good jest.
Well, there's a
Everyone.
lot of people here that say they love me. Why don't you ever read that
We
stuff?
just read Alfio's.
Why don't you read it again? Jesus says he loves me, for heaven's sakes.
Al, everyone loves you.
St. Paul stopped and
Basta.
said Akusa.
I already put that up.
He was Jewish, wasn't he? Yes, of course he was Jewish. All the apostles were Jewish, right? He was. He was St. Paul.
On that note, we love you guys. Thank
I
you
have to
so
go
much
back and
for
check my Bible.
spending this time with us. We'll see you on another episode. Arrivederci. We love you guys. Thank you for being here.
I always say sub benedica. Go with the Lord. Let the Lord be right here on your shoulder. Believe me, you can't go wrong. But thank you very much.